soon lay in his bed, he contemplated the smooth progression of the test and wondered if Mort had gone through a similar process. He recalled that the novel Magician Who Dominates the World didn't provide details about how Mort became Archduke Vernar's hidden car. It only mentioned how Archduke Werner is sought to maximize Mor's potential and controlled his mind to use him as a human weapon. He speculated that Mor might have endured a similar test, imagining him being beaten up as a child and possibly starting at the first level. He contemplated the reason why he was chosen to possess Mort. Although it hadn't been particularly helpful in his own life, he realized that he had always fought against unfairness and injustice. In contrast, Mort had lived a life that was the opposite of his own. He believed that his purpose was to save the world from destruction and stop the novel's protagonist Aiden. According to the novel, the one who completed the world fragments which contained the essence of the world would become the supreme god, known as the Magician Who Dominates the World. Hayden, the great mage in the story, achieved this status but ended up causing the destruction of the world. Tissing understood that as a god, Aiden didn't just kill his enemies, but also his friends. He was determined to prevent Aiden from becoming the destroyer of everything. He saw this as his final opportunity and made the decision to live as Mort instead of Umtasung. The Archduke Vernar's family held the ruling power over a nation known as the Principality of Vernars. Their opulent castle situated at the heart of the nation rivaled the grandeur of royal castles in other lands. The training grounds for warriors, an expansive facility, resided in the outskirts of the castle within the outer castle third region. Mort, a trainee, was informed that he would now reside in the first level of the dormitory, conveniently close to the training facility. Marveled at the sheer size of the training facility, comparing it to a university campus, a testament to the prominence of the Vernars family. Suddenly a loud sound startled him, and another trainee explained that it likely originated from the third-level training grounds. Furious, Mort questioned if a group of trainees could produce such a sound. He reasoned that even second-level trainees on their path to becoming Vernar's warriors could easily surpass the limits of an ordinary human. After all, Vernar's warriors were known for their ability to merge the powers of multiple individuals into one formidable force. The trainee informed Mort that they would soon arrive at the third region, the outer castle, where his instructor would be waiting for him. Lord expressed his gratitude and disembarked from the carriage. It was at this moment that an instructor noticed Morat and greeted him as Instructor Hayes. The first-level instructor Ward acknowledged him and referred to him as Instructor Hayes. Instructor Hayes expressed surprise upon learning that Mort, a physically imposing individual, was placed in the first level. He questioned Mor's presence, assuming he must have performed poorly on the test. Ward clarified that he had actually defeated Vince in the test. Astonished, Hayes inquired further. As Vince was an official warrior, Ward confirmed the truth, stating that there was no reason to lie when the truth would be revealed. Eventually, he explained that he had no prior knowledge of mono combat techniques or any other battle techniques, and he had come to learn the basics. Hayes, taken aback by Mor's admission, decided to accept the situation. He instructed Mor to follow him, silently pondering how Mort could have emerged victorious against Vince without any prior training. Hayes reminded Mor to avoid distracting those who were currently training Lord Waring. A faint smile acknowledged the warning, realizing that even in the first level, the trainees must possess considerable strength as they aspired to become Vernar's warriors. Hayes introduced Mor to the other trainees, informing them that he was a new addition and asked them to continue their training without paying much attention to him. Mor glanced at the other trainees and was taken aback, realizing they were all children. He questioned his decision to join the first level and wondered if he should have chosen the third level. Instead, he briefly contemplated changing his mind, but it was too late now. Hayes turned his attention back to Morton, inquired if he had never learned the mono combat technique. Ward admitted that he hadn't, but mentioned that he possessed mana. Hayes acknowledged this, stating that it was expected since Mort had undergone the new blood awakening. He explained that Mort had already completed the initial steps of detecting ether and creating mana, as well as collecting mana. The remaining steps were basic mana control and sense amplification, after which Mort could move on to the second level. Curious, Mort asked if he didn't need to learn any combat skills. Hayes responded by asking if Mort intended to stay at the first level for an extended period. Understanding Mor's concerns, Hayes assured him that he would teach him a few things and that Ward would be able to continue training on his own. If things went poorly, the second level instructor would step in to assist. Ward expressed his gratitude, appreciating the guidance as Ward began his training. Other trainees were astonished by his progress. They exclaimed in shock, noting that it had only been 10 minutes since he began training, yet his mana seemed stronger than the instructor. Ward observed the mana surrounding him and expressed his disbelief, questioning if that was all there was to it. Hayes approached Moore and informed him that he had already graduated from the first level. Ward was taken aback and thought to himself if that was it, he couldn't believe that he had progressed so quickly and successfully completed first level. Hayes informed Moore that he could start moving on to the second level the next day. He explained that the physical reinforcement lessons in the second level were divided into two sub-levels. The first sub-level focused on hardening the body to minimize damage from potential accidents, while second sub-level aimed to amplify physical abilities beyond the limitations of ordinary muscle training. Hayes mentioned that many trainees face difficulties in mastering the skill of physical reinforcement. However, Ward confidently stated to the second level instructor that he believed he only had the practice dual tests left. The instructor was taken aback, realizing that Moore was already far ahead of the second level. He decided that there was no need for the test and allowed Moore to move on to the next level, the third level. He warned Moore that graduating from the third level would be challenging, as he would face other trainees who possessed the new blood power without having learned any battle skills. Moore reflected on the fact that he hadn't learned any battle skills yet and realized that Hayes had sent him to second level assuming he was hiding his powers. The instructor placed his hand on Ward's shoulder and emphasized that reaching the second level only required root strength, but becoming a warrior in the third level would be difficult, requiring hard work. Ward accepted the challenge and thought to himself that he was aware the third level would be different. He looked forward to meeting others who possessed the new blood power in the third level training grounds. Trainees engaged in a discussion. One of them mentioned hearing about someone who passed the second level within 2 days and noted that they were also from Vernar's bloodline similar to Fionn. Another trainee questioned why someone from the Vernar's bloodline had started at the first level. Fionn, a red-haired individual, was asked about his plans. Fionn speculated that individuals like the one mentioned probably didn't join right away, intending to capture the attention of the Archduke. He expressed his determination to show that there were ranks within the Vernar's bloodline. Just then a trainee pointed out Moore in and informed Fionn that he believed that was the person they were discussing. Moore let out a sigh and expressed his regret, saying that he should have just come to the third level and skipped the previous 2 levels altogether. Fionn approached Moore and asked if he was the new guy. Lord questioned Fionn's intentions, and Fionn introduced himself as the captain of Class 2, stating that he was also of the Vernar's bloodline like Moore. Ward wondered if Fionn was indeed from the Vernar's bloodline like him. Fionn smiled and confirmed that he was, or then introduced himself as Mord, mentioning that he was supposed to be part of Class 2, although he wasn't sure for how long. In anger, Fionn released his mana and asked Mord if he thought this place was a joke. Ward clarified that he didn't view the place lightly and explained that he wasn't in a good mood at the moment, suggesting Fionn calm down. Fionn acknowledged Moore's endurance, commenting that it was expected of a Vernar's. Mord confronted Fionn, stating that he didn't think he would be intimidated by a skill like that, as if he would wet his pants. In response, Fionn angrily questioned Moore's perception, mentioning that just because Moore went through the new blood awakening, he shouldn't think he's the only Vernar's present. Fionn declared his intent to kill Mort. Right there, observing the scene, one of the trainees expressed pity from Ward, noting that no one could stop Fionn. Another trainee remarked that unless the instructor arrived soon, it would be difficult for Mort to survive. Fionn attacked Mort, causing a massive cloud of dust to envelop the area upon impact. A trainee observed the tremendous power and expressed concern for Moore's well-being, hoping he would at least make it out alive. However, as the dust settled, all the trainees wore shocked expressions. It was Mort who was standing, while Fionn was on his knees. Ward looked at Fionn and commented that he had been looking forward to seeing how strong Fionn would be, but it turned out that Fionn was nothing more than a village bully. Fionn wiped the blood from his nose and got back on his feet, expressing his frustration towards Mord, claiming that Moore was merely lucky with his punch. Ward retorted, stating that Fionn's weakness was the reason for his victory, not luck. Fionn, fueled by anger, launched another attack on Mord, shouting at him to be quiet. However, Moore skillfully evaded Fionn's punch and counterattacked with a powerful kick. The impact sent Fionn flying, crashing into a nearby wall. Mort found himself shocked by Fionn's lack of strength, considering him to be much weaker than anticipated for a third level Vernar's. Reflecting on the situation, Mort questioned whether his knowledge of basic Moda combat techniques from the first and second levels played a role, or if the original Mord possessed an instinctual mastery of those techniques. He contemplated the possibility that the current Mord might be weaker than his novel counterpart, but concerned trainee approached Fionn, urging him to gather himself and asking if he was all right. Fionn, still in shock, responded with confusion. Determined to continue the fight, he quickly regained his composure and declared that it wasn't over yet. Ward informed Fionn that He had actually lost consciousness for at least 10 seconds, Fionn angrily refuted, this claiming that Mort had taken advantage of a momentary lapse in his guard. Lord dismissed Fionn's explanation, criticizing him for letting his guard down as someone aspiring to become a warrior. Fionn, consumed by rage, was enveloped in a red aura throughout his entire body. He admonished Mort for speaking without filter and expressing every thought that came to mind. Other trainees were shocked by Fionn's sudden power surge, and someone called for the instructor, fearing that Fionn might pose a danger. One of the trainees warned Mort to flee as well, anticipating that Fionn might potentially harm him. However, Mort remained unfazed, casually remarking on the situation. He speculated that Fionn was tapping into a power called New Blood, but he appeared to lack control over it, likening it more to mana. Mort attributed this to the fact that there were likely more individuals at that level with similar circumstances. Just then, an old man named Instructor Desley arrived at the scene, questioning the commotion. A trainee informed him about the fight between the new guy, Fionn, expressing concern and suggesting they intervene. However, Instructor Desley decided to observe instead, thinking that Fionn's strength was comparable to that of a normal warrior. He saw this as an opportunity to properly assess Fionn's power. Observing Mort, Instructor Desley realized that he must be the Vernar's kid who started that day, and he casually contemplated that it wouldn't cause much trouble if one bastard child were to die. Fionn, with an evil smile, warned Mort that he would pay for making him angry, and initiated an attack or recognized Fionn's technique as body impulse, an advanced skill that utilized the body or a weapon to create a stronger energy form. Horde managed to evade the attack by stepping back, realizing that getting hit by it would be detrimental. Fionn swiftly closed the distance between them, admonishing Mort not to dare run away. He threw a punch, but Mort swiftly retaliated with a punch to Fionn's head. Fionn was taken aback and expressed his frustration, questioning why his attacks weren't effective against someone who didn't even use the New Blood power. On the sidelines, a watching trainee marveled at Mort's ability to evade every hit, while another trainee noted that Mort's attacks were also missing their mark. However, Instructor Desley believed that Mort had landed at least one hit, as he could perceive a decrease in his impulse. Fionn, panting heavily, insulted Mort, calling him a rat. Ward counterattacked. Deciding to be more serious this time, he landed a punch on Fionn's stomach, sending him flying backward and causing him to exclaim in pain. Apologizing for the impact, Mort admitted that he had tried to hold back, but acknowledged that it still hurt. Fionn, fueled by anger, dismissed Mort's words, accusing him of being a coward who only knew how to run away. Fionn, frustrated, thought to himself that it would have been over if he had landed just one more hit. He shouted at Ward, claiming that Mort was running around because he knew that Fionn could defeat him with a single strike. Ward smiled confidently and declared that he would stop dodging, no longer holding back against Fionn's irritations. Fionn smirked, thinking that his plan had worked. He charged at Mort, throwing a punch that created a red glow. Upon impact, to Fionn's surprise, Mort remained unfazed and caught Fionn's hand. Lord remarked that impulse didn't do much when facing a much weaker opponent, considering it a valuable lesson. He then gathered blue mana in his hand. In shock, Fionn realized that it was common sense for an impulse user to always defeat a non-user, but Mort, it seemed to be an exception. Fionn came to the realization that he had started a fight he could never win. Ward retaliated by throwing a punch at Fionn, who shouted as the blow struck him, sending him flying and crashing into the wall. Instructor Desley couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. He questioned where a monster like Mort had come from, as even a talented bastard child couldn't bridge the gap between themselves and a direct bloodline. If Mort was already this strong at the age of 15, he was essentially a monster. Ward turned around and challenged anyone else who wanted to fight. Instructor Desley instructed a trainee to quickly take Fionn to the medical center. Desley realized that if he didn't take action, the order of command within the training facility would be compromised. Despite Mort's exceptional abilities, he was still a bastard son with no support system. Desley made a vow that he would surely tame him. Ward contemplated the condition of Fionn, who had been seriously injured in a recent fight and was currently in a coma at the medical center. As a result, Mort found himself on probation for 4 days. He closed the tactic theory book he had been reading, deeming it too easy for his level of knowledge. Being a graduate school student, he believed the written test wouldn't pose a problem. Feeling bored staying in the dorm all day, he decided to practice the mono combat technique. Just then he heard a voice calling his name. It was Instructor Todd. Lord greeted him, curious as to why he was there. Todd commented on how Mort never allowed a quiet day to pass by revealing that the Archduke wanted to see him. Lord questioned the reason for the Archduke's interest in him. Instructor Todd assured him that he would find out once they arrived. Mentioned that etiquette wouldn't be a major concern since Mort was not expected to be well-versed in aristocratic customs, Ward agreed, recalling that even in the novel Archduke Vernars wasn't fond of aristocratic formalities. Todd mentioned the prevalent rumors about Mort, particularly regarding his exploits in the first and second level training grounds, which seemed unbelievable. Lord acknowledged that he hadn't anticipated things to be so easy either. Todd praised his intelligence, expressing his belief that others shared the same opinion. Confused, Mort asked for clarification. Todd suggested that Mor's actions were a deliberate plan to catch the Archduke's attention. Lord refuted this, stating that he wouldn't risk embarrassing himself just for the Archduke's attention. If he truly sought the Archduke's recognition, he would have focused on becoming a powerful warrior. Instead, Todd silently acknowledged that Mor's perspective held validity, recognizing that being a formidable warrior would indeed be a superior path to gaining the Archduke's attention. Todd informed him that the Archduke had received reports about the previous day's events and had taken an interest in Mord. More commented that defeating a Vernars was indeed something worthy of the Archduke's attention. Todd cautioned Mord to avoid drawing too much attention. As they approached the Archduke's training grounds, Mord agreed, followed Todd. Upon entering, Mord witnessed a man standing within a barrier while others attacked and attempted to break it. Lord recognized the overwhelming aura of power emanating from the man. Realizing that it was Archduke Vernars himself, the assailants relentlessly attacked the barrier, causing cracks to appear, but it remained intact. As the Archduke noticed Mor's presence, he commanded everyone to back off. The barrier vanished and a red vortex materialized in the Archduke's hand. Ward recognized the skill Archduke possessed. God of Combat's mirror. It was an overpowering ability that absorbed both magical and physical attacks, converting them into shock waves thrown back at the opponent. The Archduke came the attack at a wall, causing a massive explosion. Upon collision, Ward observed that the skill was still in the process of being developed. At this point in time, the Archduke expressed his dissatisfaction with the efficiency of the skill, and Mor marveled at its strength despite being incomplete. The Archduke then turned towards Morad. Todd acknowledging their presence, both Mort and Todd kneeled down and greeted the Archduke. The Archduke dispensed with formalities and told them to rise. Approaching Mor, the Archduke mentioned that he had called Mor there because he didn't want to deal with etiquette. He then remarked that he had heard Mort had done some interesting things at the training facility. Ward looked at the Archduke and couldn't help but feel intimidated despite the Archduke not making a deliberate effort to intimidate him. The Archduke still holding Ward's shin inquired about his mother. Mor stammered and replied that his mother was Riena. The Archduke recalled Riena and remarked that Mort seemed to take after her more than him. He then asked if Mort had undergone his new blood awakening earlier in the year, to which Mort confirmed. The Archduke mentioned hearing about Mor's victory against Impulse using only body reinforcement, and expressed his desire to see how strong Word truly was. He called out for Kessner, who kneeled before him. The Archduke instructed Kessner to spar with Mord. Kessner hesitated, seemingly surprised that he was being asked to spar with Mord, but ultimately agreed upon the Archduke's request. Ward observed that Kessner was one of the 10 people who had been training with Archduke earlier. Kessner invited Mord to the sparring field and offered him the option of using a weapon. However, Mord declined, stating that he never learned how to wield a weapon and would fight with his fists. Instead, Kessner expressed surprise but accepted Mord's decision. As the spar began, Kessner immediately launched a punch at Mord, but more skillfully dodged the attack. Ward acknowledged Kessner's speed, recognizing him as one of the Archduke's close personnel. Kessner continued his assault, and Mord realized that Kessner was on another level compared to the opponents he had faced before. Kessler landed a powerful kick on Mord, sending him sliding backward, approaching Ward with his body enveloped in fire. Amana Kessler commended Mord's spirit and noted that Mord wasn't giving his all despite being cornered. Chester declared that he would no longer go easy on Mord, or realized that Kessner was channeling his mana, indicating his connection to the Vernars bloodline. Reflecting on his current identity as Mord, he recognized that he had never fought with all his strength since becoming Mord. Lord was determined to give it his all against Kessner and activated his mana and prepared to fight at his fullest potential. Their mana collided, with Mord's bluish mana clashing with Kessner's fiery mana. The Archduke watched the exchange with interest. Impressed by the display, Kessner was surprised by Mord's mana and questioned if it belonged to a trainee. Meanwhile, Mort reflected on the Mord from the story and how he likely never reached his full potential due to the guilt, the negative perceptions surrounding him. However, the current Mord was determined to live up to that potential and fully utilize his powers with renewed resolve. Mord readied himself for the fight and challenged Kessner. Kessner smiled in response and swift approached Mord, launching a punch while declaring his intent to teach him a lesson. The impact of the punch created a massive shock wave, but Moore remained standing protected by his armed guards. Impressed by Moore's resilience, Kestner acknowledged that the rumors about Mord weren't fake, but deemed his efforts useless. But suddenly he got pushed back. Even though Kestner hadn't attacked again, Ward grew confused, realizing that he had blocked the attack, leading him to speculate if Kestner possessed a skill that doubled his strikes. Kestner launched another attack, expressing that Mord still had much to learn. Frustrated by the gap between their abilities, Mort felt defeated. Kestner's punch landed on Moore's stomach, sending him flying, crashing into a wall. Kessler declared that he hadn't even started yet. Urged Moore not to disappoint him, Kestner challenged Maud, urging him to give his all in the fight. Ward realized there was a significant gap between them. Despite not using his full power, he contemplated whether to use his new blood power, but hesitated, knowing Kestner would likely do the same. Chester noted Moore's deep in thought and launched another attack, determined to push him to his limits. However, Moore retaliated by punching the ground, catching Kestner off guard. As Kestner backed off, he expressed satisfaction, as that was what he wanted. From Mord, Ward decided not to reveal his full potential at that moment, but couldn't tolerate taking hits without fighting back. He aimed to land at least one attack. The exchange of blows continued between Morad and Kestner. Kestner criticized Mort, pointing out that his attack movements were too large, and his combat skills were still at a beginner level. Despite Kestner throwing a punch, Moore blocked it effortlessly with one arm, predicting his opponent's move. Kestner was shocked by Moore's ability to execute a double attack. He questioned how Mort had managed to master it so quickly and deduced that Mort had intentionally blocked his previous attack to steal his skill. Chester's hand began to glow, signaling his intent to use his full power. He commended Moore's abilities and expressed his increasing interest in the battle, urging Moore to give his best effort. As the tension escalated, Archduke intervened and commanded Kestner to back off, approaching Mort. Archduke acknowledged Moore's impressive progress despite awakening his new blood power. Only recently, Moore humbly downplayed the praise. Archduke extended his glowing hand toward Moore, expressing a desire to check something further. Ward was taken aback as he realized Kestner was attacking him with Impulse Ball. He attempted to block the energy ball with his hands, feeling the strain on his body. He contemplated whether he had no choice but to use his new blood power, but then had a realization. He remembered his fight with Fionn, realizing that if he used Impulse as well, he could block the attack. Activating Impulse, Mort successfully blocked the attack, surprising Archduke, who observed the scene. Todd too was astonished, finding it impossible that Mort could already utilize Impulse after awakening his new blood power. Ward recognized his unique talent, being able to observe someone using a skill and quickly replicate it.